have some questions, we'll have a discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Because otherwise, I've been given literally a 1 hour less for this.
Right.
So, Christos, please, Abdul, and Catalin.
I'll take a shot.
Thank you. So all of your questions and comments, because what I'll do, we'll do the panels and then we'll have a more brainstorming together until we're ready for the next event. So, Abdul, in terms of, we talked about allowing more people to benefit from aviation, and cost is also a factor. Is there a way where we can enhance the financial resilience of airlines to help them basically attract more customers? Is this something which is, in your mind, achievable? Can we focus on that? Because there's a saying I always refer to, if you try to attract customers, you make money. If you try to attract money, you probably lose customers. So what should be the focus? Because money is going to be important. How do you actually balance it so you're making money, enough money to be able to survive as a business, but also attract customers? Because customers are looking for cheaper.
To answer you directly,
Please.
I believe that it's not about customers. It's about every single human being. And shipper and producer of stuff. When airlines go out of their comfort zone and start dealing with people as human beings with their own aspirations, with their own targets, and their own thinking of what the service should be for the money they are paying, then they will be able to attract them as opposed to other airlines. Let's not forget, we are a producer of service. We are not a producer of an item. That service means a total service that starts from the point that, or even sometimes before the point of a person thinking of going somewhere, be that for leisure or business or for religious purposes or whatever. From that point on, the airline starts reaching out to that person and trying to deliver to that person what they are looking for, and they compete in order to achieve that. Now, to create that balance, this is a much, much, much bigger problem. That balance between getting the customers and getting the customers at the right price so that the airline cannot only compete, grow, and improve its service and improve the service delivery to the customer. All the other factors that are influencing the cost, or most of these factors, are outside the control of the airlines. Now, Hellenic mentioned it, everybody actually mentioned that we are facing a huge challenge. I wouldn't call them as enemies, similar to what Christos said. I would say the travelers or people of the world now, they drive cars, mostly so far are emitting CO2. They don't hate them. They are not the enemies of cars. They may say we don't like that they are running on fuel, but they still use them. And people are flying. Everybody is flying. Even Greta is flying, right? But they know what's important, or how important aviation is. Yet, for ulterior motives, for personal agendas, for personal egos, for sometimes populist reasons, for people to get re-elected or elected, they try to hit on the fear factor. When they see a hurricane, this is because of the climate change. Fine. It is because of the climate change. But how much of aviation is creating that? Fine, we need to do our part. And this is where it becomes very tricky. When the politicians put an objective for aviation to achieve, which is 2050 net zero emission, or even for that matter, the 5% reduction in emissions by 2030. They are putting the target, and they sit back and do nothing. And they think of aviation, well, they will find a way. Well, let me tell you how that way is going to be found. What Salvatore mentioned is that there will need to be $3.3 trillion of investments in order to achieve the required quantity of SAF, LCAF, and other cleaner energies to enable the airlines to achieve not 100% emission reduction, no, the 55% that is hoped by ICAO to achieve. 3.3 trillion, which is $125 billion annually. Now, what does that mean for the airline? What we see today, I'm sorry about taking a little bit longer than I should take. What we see today is that fuel suppliers are not paying a cent out of all of their hundreds of billions of dollars of profits, which they accumulated over more than 100 years. They are passing on the cost to the airline. So imagine that $125 billion every year being passed on to airlines. How much of the cost is going to be? It's going to be 14.6% in additional cost to the total cost of the airline. You asked me about the balance. How can the airlines balance that? What will happen is these populists, these politicians, who just put a target and never think of the repercussions, never think of aviation, never think that, yeah, we are against aviation, but they fly. They know how important it is. Never think of aviation, but they sign Open Skies Agreement. I'm not referring to you. Right. What they do is just create the problem and leave it to somebody else to solve it. We will not be able, as airlines, to create that financial balance between the service for good and the cost that is going to happen to us. I'm afraid the first challenge we are facing as a group of stakeholders is that travel is going to be more expensive, definitely, a lot more expensive. And politicians are doing nothing. So our first challenge is to unite, to talk to politicians through ICAO and otherwise, to tell them this is how much it's going to cost. This is the impact on economy, on job creation. You are going to be blamed for what will happen to economy and the job creation. This is your fault. Now, most of them will think, I wouldn't be there in 2050, so why should I be blamed? I mean, I don't care, I will be there by then. But we need to highlight that to the people of the earth who are not enemies of flying. They love flying, but they follow the fear factor. They are influenced by the fear factor. So this is my long answer, and actually for a very short question.
Thank you, Wahab. You actually bring up a very interesting point in terms of the environment. And we've heard Salvatore in his remarks talk about the targets and the costs, these trillions, $3.3 trillion which will be needed to reach, potentially help reach there.
55% reduction.
55 for which ICAO is targeting it. So it's good. You've been a passionate defender of the airline sector, airline industry, not just in the Middle East but globally. And I think it happened. You were sitting in between two regulators who actually represent governments and are very active at the level of ICAO. So
I will walk out.
No. And that's the beauty of these sessions. Because it actually allows for real conversations as opposed to what we call diplomatic or like over the surface. We want, because see, for us to understand what needs to be done, we need to really understand the challenge. If we kind of skim over the surface and basically talk very politely and politically correct, we might not be able to resolve issues because nobody would fully understand the challenge. So, Catalin, let me put you on the spot now. So, in terms of understanding the importance of aviation, understanding that aviation's contribution to, let's say, global climate impact, it is 3-4%. I mean, it's not your main. At one point, the target was because we were increasing. Although it was small, but it was increasing. But still, the problem is aviation suffers from its high visibility. It's a very visible sector, very visible, important and visible. And that's why sometimes it becomes an easy target. People say, look in the sky, you see what the problem is. So how do we actually help achieve these targets? And recognizing that the target is not only about airlines doing their part. It's a basket of measures. Airlines is one component. And for the last 10 years, I've only heard people talking about what airlines must do. But they kind of overlook what governments can do, must do, in terms of air traffic control, in terms of what the manufacturers can do, in terms of improving the environmental credentials of new engines and aircraft. So all these things seem to be like put on the side. The target's always been about airlines, because airlines are more vocal about it also, perhaps. But how do we address this? So that we are all moving, all the partners are moving side by side on this path and supporting each other.
Well, it's a tricky question because
like
some people some people from the top are coming to you and say, this is your target, you need to fulfill it, and on top of it, as you said, they allocate the task to somebody, not to everyone. It's our common effort to make it happen. For example, in Kazakstan, an oil and gas producer, you don't expect green to happen so fast. You have enough refinery, enough products that will supply for the next hundreds of years. So you don't expect that this will happen. But because of the top political leaders of the country that are seeing a brighter future in tackling the green, you make things happen. And this is where it should be played. Because for us as regulators, we are mostly dealing with safety, security. It's our main goal. The Kazakhstan used to be on the blacklist, on their safety list, used to be SSCs by AACO. So we have other priorities to solve first, and after that go to the green. However, we've been 2 years ago the first country to put together in first aviation talks the oil and gas industry and the aviation industry in the same room, talking to each other and see how together we can manage to pass to the next level. So practically, together with this and coming together on the governance level, so for us as technical people, with the ministry level and the president and the prime minister, putting together a package that will advance our green agenda. This is where it should be played. You might not be fortunate in some other parts of the world to have this understanding of the political level, but it should be done like this, and it should come as a package, because mostly, as I said, it's an oil and gas country. People are not really looking in the parliament about all this green stuff. So we need to make them aware. We sent this May our Minister of Transport to AACO to understand the importance of AACO. What does it mean? How does it look, this environment? And for them that are coming from maybe other parts of the industry, it's not really easy to understand the whole mechanism of aviation. So practically make them aware, put them in front of other leaders. So for example, our president met Salvatore in the premises of in Baku. So practically make them aware of the importance of aviation and how this is reflecting on our political system and going down. This is where it should be played, and we should, as regulator, to make aware our political level, where to go and how to expose them the best to this environment, to make them understand and to make them believe in what we are proposing. So this is what we are.
Christos, in terms of, let's say, your role again as the regulator, in terms of aviation safety and security, what would be your top kind of 2-3 ideas in terms of what can the world do to help improve the level of safety, aviation safety and security?
Okay. First of all, thank you for the invitation, Kostas. And also, I would like to make a few statements and remarks in general before I answer your question. One of the most important things is that in Greece, aviation is very important because it's the main part of the tourism in our country. And tourism in our country means healthy economy. From one side, this is the situation. But imagine, because you mentioned about politicians in general, how they can understand and believe on this subject regarding aviation, is that for all these years, there was no regulator in Greece. So the European Union, the Commission, knew that for many years. And they didn't do what they're supposed to do in order to strengthen the situation. And a few years ago, this is why I'm in position of the regulator of government of Greece, is because this tough gentleman here sent a letter that when I saw it my first days in my office, I got very scared. He said, the government says it to me, you have to do something with the separation between service provider and regulator, because we think and we believe and we see that the Greek aviation market is self-regulated. So this gives, with the previous question, how the politicians understand the importance of aviation. But lately, things were corrected. 3 years now in business, we do as much as we can with assistance of AACO, European Union and especially EASA, to perform accordingly. But also a general remark is as follows. About aviation. Aviation also, because I'm a newcomer in the family, for 3 years about, you can see more clearly things that maybe people with your experience, they cannot see so obviously. Aviation does not make noise, it does speak loud. And it was very, very obvious in assembly a few years ago in Montreal. There was a big discussion regarding the pollution, the climate change, CO2, SAF, etc. And I imagine that aviation makes all this effort in order to correct the situation. And I was wondering, aviation is a small part of the general pollution climate-wise. What do the other sectors do? To my opinion, because I ask this question, especially in transportation, it's not only pollution by air transportation, it's by other means. And I don't see from politicians in general, internationally, Europe-wise, to pay the same effort for the other means of transportation. But this important effort that aviation makes with all these conferences, agreements, etc., they don't speak, and most of the people, they don't know that aviation is a leader on that. And a leader from another point of view, because as you mentioned, to go to the economies, 3 or more billions, just for the beginning, trillions of dollars, is going to be very important for all economies. And I see that the market tries to find a solution when the leaders, they don't do what they're supposed to do in order to solve the problem of supply and demand, because this is a critical point. So, another general remark, it's European-wise from Commission and EASA, is that because of this gap in the local governments, they're supposed to be more directive. Otherwise, it's going to take much longer time in order to go to the end and correct result. So this means that regulators in general cannot be business of public sector only. Why? Because they don't have the expertise. So EASA, European Commission, according to my opinion, they have to direct local governments to do in personnel-wise what they're supposed to do in order to be able to support these aviation-regulated subjects. So this is very important. And the second thing is that EASA supposed to give this expertise to the local states, to the member states, because it's very difficult to find also in countries like Greece and some other smaller countries. So the way that AACO has the pool of experts that is very helpful, and I got tremendous benefit out of this, I propose to EASA to have a similar situation. So this way is going to be a big assistance to all countries to have the right people for the right positions. Because an auditor, an inspector, for safety mainly reasons in our area, it's very important. So it's a matter of training, it's a matter of caliber, it's a matter of philosophy, and this has to be done through directions. Otherwise, politicians, they don't understand the importance. And last remark is that also important is the regulators to be independent. If the regulator is associated or directed by governmental offices, it's going to be something that will not have definitely the results that we expect. Now, safety-wise, to your question, safety and security are the bedrock of passenger confidence in air travel, as all will know. While commercial stakeholders, such as airlines and airports, are responsible for safe and secure operation, is up to the regulators, to the regulated authorities, to inspect, monitor, and enforce compliance. Here we are as ACAA, work closely with AACO and EASA, ensuring all international, European, and national regulations are fully observed. Under the framework of the law 4757 that initiated and established civil aviation authority in Greece, we oversee certifications, airport supervision, and safety monitoring. Recently, achieved commendable results in AACO's Universal Safety Oversight Audit Program, the famous EACAC, and also the Safety Assessment of Foreign Aircraft Program, known as SAFA, reflecting its dedication to maintaining high safety standards. These achievements also resonated with the aviation industry's joint commitment to safe growth, reaffirmed during AACO's 8th anniversary celebrations. This approach highlights the importance of regulatory oversight and collaboration with international bodies to ensure safety and security globally. And what I can say to add to this is that in Greece, lately, we're in very good positions because we have one of the best international airports, Eleftherios Venizelos. The regional airport is under operation by very famous European or international company Fraport, but also we have two airliners. Aegean is the continuation of the famous Olympic Airways, and Sky Express, and is coming also in the near future. A newcomer is the new airport that is built in Crete, very important for the economy of this big island. It's Castelli, also privatized. So we have 5 main key players that regarding safety, we're very close and we have very good achievement so far. So I'm glad of this. And as we know, we're only 3 years old organization, but I see specifically through AACO assistance and, of course, European Union. I remind once more Mr. Holulay's support from day one, but also from EASA, Mr. Patrick King, the ex-Director General, that we achieved a lot of things. We'll catch up some of the gap, and I promise in the future we're going to be much tougher and more qualified to secure safety, security, and sustainable growth in aviation in our country.
Thank you very much, Christos. Please thank Christos.
Selfie, huh?
Thank you.
And